It seems the universe possesses a sense of humor, a dark, contorted sense that inspires a strong urge to strike its metaphorical visage. And let's not forget the gods. They exist and they are, frankly, unpleasant. My name is Zorn Tavik, Supreme Commander of what's left of the Galactic Confederation fleet. This title sounds rather grand until one considers the reality of what's left. Precisely 14 cruisers battered by conflict, 27 fighters with half their armaments non-operational, and a single opulent passenger vessel repurposed into a temporary medical transport. Commander Tavik, my first officer, Kalanix, announced abruptly as she entered the command center. The Void Eaters have penetrated the outer defense perimeter of the Aurelian system. Her typically azure skin had faded to a pallid periwinkle, and her cranial tendrils quivered. An unfavorable omen, always. I sighed, taking a deep draught from my stimulant juice canister. Splendid. Absolutely splendid. How much time until they reach the evacuation point? 27 hours, sir, she responded. Insufficient time, I snarled, striking the halotable with my fist. We still have more than 4 million refugees awaiting evacuation. Even if we cram them in like compressed nutrient blocks, we would require a minimum of 2 days. Kala's expression conveyed the message clearly. We do not possess 2 days, sir. You don't say, truly, I retorted. I assumed when unstoppable cosmic horrors were devouring entire stellar systems, they might at least have the courtesy to adhere to a sensible timetable. The words escaped me sharply, and I instantly regretted them. None of this situation was Kala's doing. My apologies, she said, nodding, her tendrils easing slightly. The Council of High Elders requests your attendance at the emergency session, sir. Naturally, I mumbled, because the absolute priority in this crisis is certainly further deliberation from individuals who have dedicated the past 4 centuries to discussing the correct procedure for interspecies greetings. Upon my arrival, the council chamber was crowded. Delegates from all 17 surviving Confederation species were speaking over one another. The din struck me with physical impact, a discordant mix of clicks, whistles, resonant frequencies, and interpreted dialogue. Elder Pax Vantoy, an aged scion whose once reflective scales had lost their luster over time, somehow managed to project his voice clearly without shouting, a skill likely honed in high elder academies, I presumed. Commander Tavik, your evaluation of our tactical situation, if you would, he stated, and the chamber became quiet. I cleared my throat. We are doomed. A wave of astonished murmurs spread through the assembly. Prefer a more palatable summary? Very well. The Void Eaters have devoured 42% of Confederation territory. They have extinguished more than 600 billion conscious existences that we can account for. Negotiation is impossible. Conventional weaponry is ineffective against them. Our most potent quantum disruptors offer only marginal resistance. At their present pace, the entire galaxy faces consumption within 3 standard years. Surely there remains some course of action we have not yet explored, chirped Elder Ricky, a diminutive aven whose plumage continuously shed due to anxiety. Indeed, we could attempt a polite request for them to cease devouring reality itself, I responded. However, given their disregard for all attempts at communication and their apparent view of our strongest weapons as mere hors d'oeuvres, I hold little optimism for diplomatic solutions. Elder Vantoy's inner eyelids fluttered in irritation. Commander, this moment is ill-suited for cynicism. With the utmost respect, Your Eminence, I countered. When confronting annihilation, cynicism stands as one of the scarce indulgences still within our reach. It was then that Elder Morothean, the Council's most senior and revered member, finally spoke. His kind, the Vorax, were renowned for their perfect recall and historical archives extending back beyond 50,000 years. There exists a single possibility we have not yet contemplated, he stated, his voice a low murmur. The chamber fell into such profound silence that the cycling of the environmental systems was audible. No, Elder Vantoy declared instantly. That action is prohibited by the ancient compact. What possibility? I inquired, glancing from one to another. Elder Theon's 8 eyes blinked sequentially, a gesture of serious deliberation among the Vorax. The humans! The single word impacted the chamber like an explosive charge. Several elders gasped sharply. One delegate actually collapsed. Elder Ricky's plumage erupted from his form in a flurry of distress shedding. "Are you deranged?" hissed Elder Vantoy. "We pledge never to re-establish contact with them. Not after the events at Proxima Centauri, not after what they inflicted upon the Harvester fleet." "I possess a deeper understanding of the histories than anyone present," Elder Theon interjected, a rare violation of council protocol. "I witnessed it myself, Vantoy. I beheld their actions, and I tell you now, we require their aid." I surveyed the council's frightened countenances. "Would someone kindly explain what in the name of all the stars you are discussing? Humans? I have never even encountered mention of this species." Elder Theon turned his ancient gaze upon me. "You would not have. Every reference to them was erased from our chronicles. Their stellar system remains under quarantine, encircled by automated warning signals. By mandate of the Confederation and through mutual accord with the humans themselves, we maintain absolute separation." "Why?" I questioned. "Because they instill terror in the gods," Elder Theon answered plainly. "Let me provide some context regarding our civilization. We do not employ the term gods casually. The Confederation acknowledges 11 transcendent species who transcended physical existence millions of years ago. They seldom engage with lesser beings such as ourselves, yet their power is absolute. They possess the ability to reorder stars, conjure or annihilate matter spontaneously, and manipulate the fundamental forces governing the cosmos. And seemingly something inherent to these humans instilled fear in them. The Void Eaters have already devoured 2 of the transcendent entities," Elder Theon proceeded. "The remainder have withdrawn beyond the galactic periphery. They have forsaken us." "But the humans did not," I surmised. "No, the humans engaged and prevailed, though the price was considerable." Elder Vantoy struck his ceremonial staff against the floor. "This is sacrilege. The ancient compact unequivocally mandates—" "The compact holds no relevance any longer," Elder Theon roared with astonishing vigor for one of his years. "Nothing retains significance if we are all annihilated, Vantoy. The humans represent our sole potential salvation." "Even if we desired contact, how could we achieve it?" I asked. "They are quarantined." "I possess the coordinates," Elder Theon stated, "and the emergency communication protocols." The chamber erupted once more, but I disregarded the noise, contemplating our available choices, which amounted to precisely 0. Perish now or hazard contact with these enigmatic humans who apparently terrified beings capable of constructing solar systems. "Proceed," I commanded, cutting through the clamor. "Transmit the message." 3 hours subsequently, I stood solitary in my personal quarters, gazing out at the starlight, questioning if I had just committed the most monumental error in Confederation history. The transmission had been dispatched, a desperate entreaty for assistance, beamed directly into a system designated Sol, whatever that appellation implied. The entryway signaled. "Enter," I called out. Kala entered carrying a data tablet. "Sir, we have received a reply from the human system." My heart faltered. That was remarkably swift. "What was their communication?" "Merely a single word, sir." She extended the tablet to me. The message displayed simply, "Coordinates." I nearly laughed aloud. No greeting, no acknowledgement of receipt, not even an inquiry as to our identity, just coordinates, unambiguous, functional, subtly foreboding. I found myself already impressed. "Transmit them the coordinates for the Aurelian system and our fleet's current location," I ordered. "And Kala, place the fleet on maximum alert. I possess no comprehension of what we are about to encounter." "Yes, sir," she responded, hesitating at the doorway. "Do you genuinely believe they can assist us against the Void Eaters?" I offered a shrug. According to the Council, they instilled fear in immortal energy entities capable of manipulating stars. Thus, they are either the salvation we desperately require, or they are so utterly dreadful that we will find ourselves pleading with the Void Eaters to consume us more rapidly." She did not laugh. I did not hold it against her. The period of waiting was agonizing. 6 hours elapsed without any indication of the humans. The Void Eaters persisted in their unstoppable encroachment through the Aurelian system, obliterating everything in their trajectory. Planets, stars, even the fundamental weave of space-time itself was left contorted and ruined in their wake. "Commander," the sensor officer called out, "we are detecting numerous spatial anomalies at the system's periphery." My spirit plummeted. The Void Eaters. "No, sir, the energy readings are distinct. I have never registered anything comparable." The primary view screen activated, displaying a segment of apparently vacant space. Then reality itself seemed to be rent apart, not the chaotic, ravaging fissures generated by the Void Eaters, but precise, deliberate incisions within the structure of space-time. And through these rents in existence emerged vessels, human vessels. They felt wrong. That is the sole descriptor that comes to mind. While Confederation craft were streamlined and graceful, these were crude, angular, and festooned with external armaments. Where our ships emanated the gentle blue luminescence of hyperfield generators, these bled a foreboding red energy from what seemed to be intentionally uncovered power conduits. They resembled mobile fortress factories conceived by an individual possessing a particularly confrontational appreciation for design rather than conventional starships. "Sir," Kala whispered softly at my side, "there are more than 3,000 of them." I found myself unable to speak. The Confederation, even at its zenith, had perhaps deployed 2,000 capital ships dispersed throughout the entire galaxy. These humans had just nonchalantly deployed a larger task force in response to a mere distress signal. The communications console chimed. "Incoming transmission from the human fleet," the comms officer reported, his voice reflecting the same astonishment I felt. "Connect it," I commanded, adjusting my uniform. The view screen altered, displaying, well, a human, I assumed. The entity bore a surprising resemblance to several Confederation species, albeit with less pronounced characteristics: no scales, no feathers, no exoskeletal components. It possessed skin of a pinkish tan hue, a covering of short dark hair on its upper cranium, and was clad in what seemed to be military attire decorated with symbols I could not decipher. "This is Admiral Mira Yoshida of the Terran Defense Force," the human stated, its voice possessing an unexpected melodiousness. "We intercepted your distress signal. It appears you are experiencing a minor infestation." A minor infestation. Trillions perished, worlds obliterated, reality itself being consumed, and the human referred to it as a minor infestation. "Commander Zorn Tavik of the Galactic Confederation," I replied. "We are grateful for your response, Admiral Yoshida. However, I feel compelled to caution you, these pests have annihilated every force we have deployed against them." The human's countenance performed an unusual action. The edges of its mouth ascended, revealing rows of blunt, white dental structures. I would subsequently discover this expression was termed a smile, though in that moment it appeared distinctly predatory. "Yes, we rather anticipated that, Commander, hence our decision to deploy significant firepower." The human made a nonspecific gesture. "We have evacuation craft standing by for your civilian population. Simply direct us to their assembly points, and we will manage the situation." "Admiral," I began cautiously, "I believe you may not fully grasp the essence of our adversary. The Void Eaters devour reality itself. They have eradicated entire stellar systems, and even the transcendent beings, what you might term gods, retreat in their presence." That peculiar smile broadened across the human's face. "Gods? Which ones?" It paused. "Allow me to impart some knowledge regarding gods, Commander Tavik. They are vulnerable. They bleed just as any other entity. One merely needs to identify the point of incision." A chilling sensation coursed along my spine. I recalled Elder Theon's declaration. "They terrify the gods." The human proceeded. "Now let us ensure your population is secured. Following that, we shall acquaint these Void Eaters with humanity. I suspect they will discover us to be rather unpalatable. And as the initial wave of human vessels advanced towards the refugee assembly areas with astonishing velocity, I could not suppress the thought that we might have simply exchanged one horror for another. Yet at least these particular horrors were, for the present, aligned with us. "Yes, sir," Kala affirmed, examining a tactical screen. "The human ships are deploying some form of— I am uncertain how to categorize them. They resemble combatants, but—" She paused, scrutinizing the data. I moved to her station, observing over her shoulder. What I witnessed defied logic. "Are those individuals operating in open space?" "Yes, sir. Thousands upon thousands. They are clad in some variety of armored enclosure, but they are not utilizing craft. They are simply suspended there, propelling themselves autonomously." The tactical screen depicted masses of small humanoid shapes emerging from the larger human vessels, propelling themselves directly towards the encroaching boundary of the Void Eater's consumption front. They bore armaments that seemed disproportionately large, even for their armored forms. "This is self-destruction," I murmured. "What do they believe they are accomplishing?" "Contending with gods," Kala responded quietly. The evacuation commenced with ruthless efficiency. Human shuttles, each 3 times the dimensions of our largest transports, descended upon the refugee assembly zones. Their loading methodologies would have appalled Confederation safety inspectors. Thousands of civilians were rapidly directed into cargo bays intended for freight, secured not by standard safety restraints but by quickly deployed foam that expanded to immobilize them. Nevertheless, despite its perceived disregard for caution, the human evacuation progressed at 5 times our estimated pace. They were not delicate, but they were swift. As the final refugee transports ascended, Admiral Yoshida re-established contact. "Your populace is safely aboard, Commander," she reported. "Now we commence the hunt." "Admiral," I started, "I acknowledge your assurance, but these entities have devastated entire worlds." "Indeed." "Yes, yes," she interjected with an indifferent wave of her hand. "Large, terrifying cosmic entities. Quite formidable, I'm sure. However, here is the critical point regarding cosmic entities, Commander Tavik." The predatory smile reappeared. "They have never encountered humans previously." The view screen transitioned to a tactical overview as the Admiral's voice persisted. "You may wish to observe this. It promises to be quite a spectacle." And as the human fleet pivoted to confront the encroaching barrier of nullity that were the Void Eaters, I could not shake the conviction that we had, in fact, committed a grievous error. But at least the universe's demise would be engaging. The Void Eaters advanced like a deluge of emptiness, a barrier of utter negation that absorbed everything it contacted. Stars vanished, planets disintegrated, the very fabric of space distorted and coiled before dissolving into non-being. And against this cataclysmic power, the humans dispatched individuals encased in armor. "This is insanity," I whispered, observing the tactical display as thousands of armored human forms propelled themselves directly towards inevitable destruction. Kala stood beside me, her cranial tendrils utterly motionless, an indication of profound shock among her species. "Sir, the sensors are registering energy signatures emanating from the human suits that surpass any record in our database. Each individual combatant appears to be generating energy comparable to the primary reactor of a Confederation cruiser." "That is impossible," I stated reflexively. "Apparently not for humans," she countered. The comm channel crackled. "Commander Tavik," came Admiral Yoshida's voice, "you may wish to reduce the sensitivity of your visual sensors for the forthcoming minutes." Before I could formulate a response, the void separating the human forces and the cosmic entity illuminated with such brilliance that our view screens automatically polarized to their highest setting. Even then, the radiance was overwhelming. When my sight recovered, I beheld something no conscious entity in the Confederation had ever witnessed. The Void Eaters were withdrawing. "What? What action did they take?" I stammered. "A phased quantum detonation cascade," replied Admiral Yoshida, who had evidently been monitoring the channel. She sounded almost indifferent. Fundamentally, we create breaches in reality just slightly faster than they are capable of consuming it, generating a self-reinforcing cycle of dimensional flux that they appear to find rather disagreeable. The flippant manner in which he described armaments capable of distorting the intrinsic nature of existence sent a chill down my spine. "Admiral," I began cautiously, "such technology is unsettling." "Oh, this is merely the preliminary phase," she responded. "The tactical unit was evaluating their reaction thresholds. Now we are introducing the principal assets." The principal assets manifested as 7 colossal vessels that emerged from the largest human craft. They were configured as elongated pyramids, featuring what appeared to be enormous crystalline structures projecting from their outer shells. As they advanced towards the reconsolidating Void Eaters, I observed an anomaly. "They possess no armaments," I stated, examining the sensor data. "No visible armaments," Kala corrected. "But those crystalline configurations are generating some form of field that—" "Sir, I lack the terminology to describe this. They are establishing localized zones where the fundamental laws of physics are being reconfigured." Admiral Yoshida's voice returned, this time carrying an undertone I would later identify as exhilaration. "We designate them reality anchors, specifically engineered for entities that manipulate dimensional thresholds. You see, Commander, one cannot effectively combat something that devours reality by conventional engagement. The battlefield itself must be altered." As the 7 vessels adopted a precise arrangement, a new voice joined the channel. "Reality anchor deployment complete. Physics lockdown commencing in 3, 2, 1, execute." Between the 7 ships, space itself appeared to solidify, to crystallize. The Void Eaters ensnared within the influenced area abruptly decelerated. Their formless shapes acquired more distinct contours as they were compelled into a singular dimensional state. "What is occurring?" I asked, unable to avert my gaze from the astonishing sight. "We are compelling them to adhere to our parameters," Admiral Yoshida elucidated. "No further phase shifting, no more dimensional traversal, no more manipulation of reality. Simply straightforward matter against matter, and concerning the destruction of matter." The smile was discernible in her tone. "Humans possess a particular aptitude for that." The primary human fleet surged ahead, weapons unleashing fire. These were not the refined hyperfield disruptors or quantum resonance beams characteristic of Confederation vessels. Human weaponry was unrefined, devastatingly powerful, and terrifyingly efficient. Missiles that ripped fissures in space-time, directed energy weapons that appeared to ignite the vacuum, and projectiles moving with such velocity that our sensors struggled to follow their trajectories. Where previously the Void Eaters had simply disregarded our most formidable assaults, they now emitted screams. There is no alternative description. Although sound does not propagate in vacuum, our sensor arrays registered vibrations across numerous dimensional strata, which our systems automatically interpreted as auditory signals. The outcome was a dissonance so horrific that several members of my bridge crew instinctively removed their comm devices due to the discomfort. "They are harming them," Kala stated in disbelief. "They are actually inflicting pain upon gods." "I informed you they bleed," Admiral Yoshida's voice returned. "Now we shall ascertain their composition, quite literally." A new contingent of human vessels advanced, smaller, swifter craft that darted around the now sluggish Void Eaters. They were not engaging offensively, but rather seemed to be acquiring specimens, excising fragments from the cosmic entities using specialized instruments. "Admiral," I interjected, suddenly apprehensive, "precisely what activities are your personnel engaged in?" "Scientific inquiry, Commander. Highly aggressive scientific inquiry." Within mere minutes, the human fleet had utterly confined the Void Eaters, the entities that had devoured half of Confederation territory, that had caused immortal energy beings to flee in terror, were now ensnared like subjects in a laboratory. "Extraction teams report successful sample acquisition," a new human voice reported over the channel. "Preliminary analysis indicates exploitable biological components. Request permission to proceed with weaponization." Permission granted, Admiral Yoshida responded. Expedite the process. I require deployment options within 1 hour. My jaw dropped open. 1 hour? Admiral, Confederation research divisions dedicate decades to studying novel life forms before even contemplating potential applications. The Admiral emitted a sharp, unexpected laugh. Respectfully, Commander, that might account for your difficulties in this conflict. Our operational tempo is somewhat more accelerated. As the research ships carried out their tasks, the remainder of the human fleet pressed its attack against the cornered Void Eaters. Ordinarily, I might have felt sympathy for creatures enduring such a fierce bombardment. However, these entities had devoured trillions of lees, showing neither hesitation nor regret. Consequently, I observed with dark satisfaction as humanity demonstrated the true meaning of terror to cosmic horrors. Commander Kali spoke, directing my attention to a novel sensor return. One of the Void Eaters appears to be attempting some form of communication. I exchanged a glance with her. Throughout all our previous encounters with these beings, they had never responded to any communication efforts. Admiral Yoshida, I reported. Our readouts suggest one of the entities is producing communication patterns. Yes, we are detecting that as well, she confirmed. Likely attempting negotiation now that their insubstantial forms are being thoroughly beaten. Classic bully behavior, all intimidation and dominance until met with resistance. Ought we not at least listen to what they are conveying? I proposed. A silence hung in the air before the Admiral replied. Very well, patching it through immediately. What was transmitted was not language recognizable by any Confederation species. Instead, it consisted of a sequence of conceptual impressions so potent that everyone on the bridge recoiled in unison. Cease, mistake, not food, communication error. What does that mean? Kala whispered. The subsequent transmission provided clarification, though it offered no solace. Ology, believed, galaxy uninhabited, signal misconstrued as invitation, will depart. I blinked in astonishment. They believed the galaxy was empty. How could that be? The Confederation encompasses thousands of star systems. Not in their perception, Admiral Yoshida stated, her tone abruptly chilling. Consider the difference in scale. To beings operating across multiple dimensions and devouring entire star systems, your civilizations could seem as trivial as microorganisms. They likely didn't even perceive they were ending sentient lives. Recognize humans, previous encounter, agreement of separation, will honor departing, previous encounter. I turned towards the main display where Admiral Yoshida's face had become devoid of expression. Admiral, you have encountered these entities before? Not these specific ones, she replied carefully. But other entities of their type, yes, approximately 300 years ago, according to our reckoning. They drifted into our home system. We elucidated the concept of boundaries for them. Considering what I had just witnessed of humanity's military prowess, I could only speculate on what that explanation must have involved. So all of this, I said slowly. The trillions deceased, the worlds annihilated. It was merely a misunderstanding. They weren't even aware of our presence. The Admiral's expression grew stern. Does that matter? Negligent genocide is still genocide, Commander. But she sighed. If they are prepared to depart peacefully now, we shall not pursue them. We are not monsters. The irony of that declaration, emanating from a species that had just compelled godlike entities to cry out in agony, was quite apparent. What of the damaged regions of space? I inquired. The devoured worlds and star systems are lost, she stated plainly. Some things even we can't fix, but we can assist you in rebuilding elsewhere. The Void Eaters, upholding their word, commenced their withdrawal. The human fleet held its formation, weaponry still aimed at the entities as they accelerated towards the system's periphery. They are really leaving, Commander Callis remarked, examining the long-range sensors. All of them. A cheer erupted from the bridge crew, the first display of joy I had witnessed in months. But I couldn't join in. Something was troubling me. Admiral Yoshida, I said. You mentioned a previous encounter with these entities. However, Elder Theon spoke of the ancient compact An agreement for quarantine between humans and the Confederation. Are these events connected? The Admiral remained silent for an extended moment. That's a complicated question, Commander. One better discussed face-to-face, I believe, once your people are established. That lack of a direct answer conveyed more to me than any explanation could have. 3 days elapsed. With the Void Eaters gone and the evacuation finalized, I found myself aboard the Admiral's flagship for the anticipated conversation. The interior of the human vessel mirrored its exterior in its utilitarian design, purely functional with minimal aesthetics, yet conveying an overwhelming sense of barely contained power. Admiral Yoshida met me in what she referred to as the officers' mess, evidently a communal dining area. She was smaller in person than her image on the view screen suggested, yet no less formidable. "A drink," she offered, holding aloft a container of clear liquid. "Thank you. No, my species doesn't process alcohol well." She nodded and poured herself a glass. "So, the ancient compact. You want to know the real story?" "If you are willing to share it," I replied carefully. The Admiral took a sip of her drink. 342 years ago, we encountered our initial alien species. They called themselves the Harvesters. Their philosophy was straightforward: resources were meant to be seized, and weaker species existed solely for exploitation or extermination. "I am aware of them from our historical archives," I stated. "They posed a threat to early Confederation worlds until their mysterious disappearance roughly 300 years ago." "Yes, the Admiral confirmed, her smile chilling. "They made the error of assaulting Earth. We eradicated them, every single one." The nonchalant manner in which he described the annihilation of an entire spacefaring civilization sent a shiver down my spine. "During that conflict," she continued, "we developed technologies and weaponry that caused apprehension among the entities you term the Transcended Ones. They contacted us afterward alongside representatives from your nascent Confederation. They proposed the Compact. We would remain within our designated sector of space, developing as we saw fit, and you would all keep your distance. Everyone agreed it was for the best." "Because you terrify the gods," I quoted. She laughed. "Is that what they told you? Flattering, I suppose. The truth is simpler. We instill fear in everyone because we decline to accept limitations, even the constraint of mortality." "What do you mean?" "The Transcended Ones attained their state through millions of years of evolution. We were impatient." She finished her drink. "Let's simply say there's a reason our soldiers can generate as much power as your cruisers. We have been aggressively enhancing ourselves." I considered the human troops in their powered armor, confronting cosmic horrors devoid of hesitation or fear. "You have been modifying yourselves." "Enhancing," she corrected. "Genetically, cybernetically, dimensionally. The average human today differs as greatly from our ancestors as they did from single-celled organisms." "And the Transcended Ones feared this," I surmised. "Your swift evolution." "They feared how we were accomplishing it," she stated, "and what we might become if allowed to develop without restraint. Hence the quarantine, which, incidentally, we primarily agreed to because we were preoccupied with our own undertakings and did not require the diversion of galactic politics." I leaned back, attempting to assimilate everything. "So what occurs now? The compact has been breached. Your fleet is within Confederation territory. Now," the Admiral said, spreading her hands, "we assist you in rebuilding as a demonstration of goodwill, and subsequently we shall renegotiate the conditions of our coexistence." The manner in which she uttered renegotiate made it plain this would not be a negotiation among equals. "The Council of High Elders will require assurances," I stated, "guarantees that humanity will not expand aggressively into Confederation space." Admiral Yoshida's laugh was genuine this time. "Commander Tavik, if we wanted your territory, we would have taken it centuries ago. Territory isn't what we are interested in conquering." "Then what are you interested in?" Her eyes gleamed with an intensity that reminded me uncomfortably of the energy weapons her ships had deployed against the Void Eaters. "Possibility," she stated simply. "The fundamental constraints of existence and how to surmount them." Your confederation explores the cosmos. We explore what it means to be. And the Void Eaters, I inquired, will they return? Not to this galaxy, she replied with absolute certainty. We have made arrangements. I did not inquire as to what those arrangements involved. Some matters, I was learning, were better left unexplored when dealing with humans. As I made preparations to depart, the Admiral placed a small device on the table between us. A gift, a quantum communicator calibrated to our emergency frequencies, merely in case you ever require our assistance again. I stared at the device. It symbolized both salvation and formidable power, the capacity to summon beings capable of terrifying gods. Thank you, I said, taking it carefully, though I hope we never have to use it. So do we, Commander. Her smile reappeared, softer now, yet no less disquieting. But the cosmos is replete with horrors. It is beneficial to possess allies who are worse. As my shuttle returned to the remnants of the Confederation fleet, I gazed out at the human armada, thousands of vessels bristling with armaments capable of harming cosmic entities, enhanced by beings who had rejected the limitations of their own biology. Elder Theon had been correct to feel apprehension, but he had also been correct in summoning them. Sometimes, when facing monsters, you need monsters of your own. And humanity, it seemed, had mastered the art of becoming precisely monstrous enough to safeguard what they held dear without sacrificing what rendered them worth preserving. May the gods aid anyone who threatened that equilibrium, for the humans assuredly would not.